Mountain Farm Museum is a unique collection of farm buildings assembled from locations throughout the park. Visitors can explore a log farmhouse, barn, apple house, spring house, and a working blacksmith shop to get a sense of how families may have lived 100 years ago. The Mountain Farm Museum is a unique collection of farm buildings assembled from locations throughout the park. Visitors can explore a log farmhouse, barn, apple house, spring house, and a working blacksmith shop to get a sense of how families may have lived 100 years ago. Most of the structures were built in the late 19th century and were moved here in the 1950s. The Davis House offers a rare chance to view a log house built from chestnut wood before the chestnut blight decimated the American chestnut in our forests during the 1930s and early 1940s. The Davis House is an original building, built by Johnny Davis with his own hands. This log home is a great example of the building techniques used in the mountains at the time. After nearly 2 years of construction, the family moved in around 1902. 3 of the 7 Davis children were born in the house. The meat house, chicken house, apple house, corn crib, gear shed, barn, blacksmith shop, and spring house are all original structures. The barn is the only structure original to this site. The woodshed and beehive are reproductions. The blacksmith shop is a working forge where you can see demonstrations. Spend a few hours at the Oconaluftee Mountain Farm Museum and get a glimpse into the lives of pioneer mountain farmers. Life was difficult, but they survived by working together, using natural resources, and working hard. We appreciate the hard work and resources provided by the National Park Service to maintain the structures and keep the museum going. The museum is adjacent to the Oconaluftee Visitor Center. The site also demonstrates historic gardening and agricultural practices, including livestock. An inexpensive, self-guiding tour booklet is available. Two excellent walking trails start from the vicinity. The Oconaluftee River Trail follows its namesake stream for 1.5 miles to Cherokee. Mingus Creek Trail climbs past old farms to the Smokies high country. The EZ 1.5-mile Oconaluftee River Trail begins near the entrance to the museum. It is stroller accessible and follows the river to Cherokee and C. By and large, until the early 1800s, mostly Cherokee Indians occupied the land now known as the Smoky Mountains. As far as we know, the Cherokees were the first to make these mountains their home. They built communities, farmed, fished, traded with others, and traveled on the extensive network of trails. As the European population of America expanded and moved west, increasingly the mountains of North Carolina and Tennessee became a destination. People wanted to farm on cheap and plentiful land away from the crowded eastern seaboard. The United States government began pushing the Cherokees out, and by the 1830s, their relocation further west was in full swing. Small farming communities sprang up throughout the region. Cades Cove is one of the most famous farming communities that arose out of this migration. Pioneers built stores, homes, churches, schools, barns, mills, sawmills, roads, and anything else they needed. Beginning of the end. About that same time, railroads began expanding, with more than 45,000 miles of railway put down in the following 20 years. Travel was about to get a whole lot easier. Changes throughout the United States in the last quarter of the 19th century transformed the landscape of the Smoky Mountains. The Industrial Revolution was well underway. Railroads made the transportation of building materials across vast distances a lot easier. Logging companies purchased hundreds of thousands of acres in the mountains. They cut the trees, then shipped the logs out on the new railroads. Before the U.S. government put an end to the practice, loggers harvested 2/3 of the trees. The government purchased the land for Great Smoky Mountains National Park and forcibly relocated more than 1,200 pioneer settlers. The entire process was reminiscent of the Cherokees. Mountain Farm Museum born. Rather than lose the local mountain culture to the past, the Park Service set aside land inside the park where farm homes, barns, meat houses, and other remnants of the farm life could live on. The Oconaluftee Mountain Farm Museum was born. The buildings were moved from their original locations throughout the Smoky Mountains and brought together in one place. As you wander around the grounds, you will see original structures and a few reproductions. Oconaluftee Visitor Center. Entrance to the Mountain Farm Museum is free. This open-air museum is directly behind the Oconaluftee Visitor Center at 1194 Newfound Gap Road, US 441, Cherokee, North Carolina 28719. Their phone number is 828-497-1904. The Visitor Center is a nice place to pick up a map, get a t-shirt, or talk to a local working in the center. Ask about annual events, like the Fall Heritage Festival in September. Open every day except Christmas Day. January, February 9 o'clock a.m. 4:30 p.m. March 9 o'clock a.m. 5 o'clock p.m. April, May 9 o'clock a.m. 6 o'clock p.m. June, August 9 o'clock a.m. 7 o'clock p.m. September, October 9 o'clock a.m. 6 o'clock p.m. November, 9 o'clock a.m. 5 o'clock p.m.
Like, share, and subscribe to Princess AGTV. Woo-hoo!